What would it actually take for Americans to go full France and riot in the street?
Unfortunately, the answer is food. If we stopped being able to buy food, the regime would be done in a week. I'm worried anything less wouldn't be enough. Massive starvation while the government held lavish parties. People aren't dying from hunger and won't, but the increase in consumer food prices is real, while Trump literally throws lavish feasts of lobster and filet mignon at Mar-a-Lago for those who give him money. Great Gatsby party when SNAP benefits were cut? I do not know if it's the exact same in scale, but it echoes the notion. So we have to wait on the ballroom to be completed? If it did actually happen, the news would barely cover it, and everyone would ask why Americans aren't doing anything.
If the events of the last 5 or 6 years have taught me anything, it's that the answer is, sadly, nothing. This is not going to happen. The American population is thoroughly desensitized and controlled. When you see the NFL, NBA, and MLB stadiums at full throttle, even college football thriving, stock of big tech getting higher and higher, and Netflix being able to afford the entire Warner Brothers for a staggering $72 billion, you can see clearly the attention of an average American has been thoroughly captured and accounted for already in the balance sheets of big tech, big sports, and big whatever. It is so mathematically and precisely controlled now, and there is no way whatsoever they will ever be even mild demonstrations. I have no comment on whether this is good or bad. This is just reality.
On top of that, for mass demonstrations to work, you need unity. Or at least your opposition can't have the explicit support of a third of your population, while another third sits on the sideline as you get gunned down by the military. I swear, Europeans just want to see Americans get shot in the streets so they can finally say, "I told you so," to the MAGAs while Trump invades Europe with his last domestic opposition locked up or dead.
Americans will put up with anything provided it doesn't block traffic. Dan Rather. Because it lets them get to their job. That's where we all find the majority of our identity and security.
I honestly don't see it happening. There are way too many Americans who don't care because what's happening doesn't affect them. There aren't enough people who live by that, quote, "Justice won't be served until those who are unaffected are as outraged as those who are."
What do you expect the average parents, both working to pay the bills, raising multiple children, to do? Take PTO from work to go demonstrate in the streets? Skip holidays with family to put together a sit-in protest? The average person has to keep putting one foot in front of the other unless all these bad policies directly impact their employment or family's well-being. Expecting people to just disrupt their lives because some ethical, theoretical boundary was crossed by something they read or saw in their news outlet of choice is an insane expectation.
France wouldn't shoot their protesters with live ammo. I am not so sure that Americans have that safety anymore.
So is the Second Amendment useless?
Now they won't, but the French government has definitely shot at their citizens during the Napoleon years. People keep harping on this without understanding a major difference is size. Where are you going to riot? Big cities can riot, okay, cool, but millions of your population are still scattered over an insane landmass in tiny towns. You'll shut down a big city or two, but everyone else will probably just go back to work and talk about it at the water cooler.
And the people in the small towns will have no sympathy, probably hoping the military takes out the snowflake liberals causing all the problems. Not only that, the US government over many years has made the police into a paramilitary force that has, for the last 20 years, accumulated large stockpiles of military weaponry. Cops today are mainly MAGA and would love to shoot some protesters.
Yes, even in the Civil War, almost all the fighting occurred in about 5 or 6 states, if I remember correctly.
The fact that if we go full French, our police forces and government will violently prevent it from happening is what deters people. Just a simple protest with an angry cop can become violent and even deadly. I know you're right, I do, but this fear can let us fully slip into a dictatorship.
So Trump could rip up the Constitution and declare himself president for life, and we should just sit back and let it happen? He could become a Maduro, and we just sit back and wring our hands and pray for another country to come save us, not even attempt to fight it? There is a breaking point where people are willing to risk it all. I'm just not sure what that is yet. Democracy is hard. You have to constantly fight to maintain it. This country's government has functioned on an honor system up to this point, and it's currently being tested. It just feels like we've already given up.
France is roughly the size of Texas geographically, and the US population is 5 times greater. California is 2,900 miles from New York. It would be like convincing France to get everyone between them and Turkey on the same page for a revolution.
And you can take public transportation to get just about anywhere in France.
My understanding is these full France riots in the street come in the context of general strikes. There has never been a general strike in the US. The point of those riots isn't property damage, but economic damage due to shutting down cities. My understanding is businesses in some European countries budget yearly for strike days. Also, just want to point out, riots in the US and France often start out as cop riots. There have been a few general strikes in the US, but not in the last 80 years. Oakland, San Francisco, Seattle, Chicago, Philadelphia, St. Louis, New Orleans. The US has a proud labor history and pioneered many labor reforms that we now take for granted. Since the 1980s, though, unions have been under attack. In the 1950s, about 30% of workers were unionized. Now it's more like 5%.
Greater than, my understanding is businesses in some European countries budget yearly for strike days. I can't speak for the whole European continent, but as someone from Portugal who used to work as an accounting assistant for a company and now works for a union, the company I used to work for didn't budget for strike days. Usually the point is to avoid a strike and actually be able to negotiate terms in a way both sides get satisfied with the outcome. Greater than, the point of those riots isn't property damage. Usually the ones causing property damage are people purposely causing disturbances, so the strike is seen as a bad thing.
Does France have employment protections for such things? Here, a lot of employment is at will, and employees can be terminated for almost any reason. There were 3,000 people in the streets of a Minneapolis suburb just last night. The administration will just use it to ramp up authoritarianism, the same way the last administration did after January 6th, when they stationed 25,000 National Guardsmen at the Capitol for months. Quote, "Peaceful protest is outright ignored. Economic protest isn't possible in the current system." End quote. Luigi Mangione.
Realistically, it's going to be one of two things: a complete shutdown of the internet for more than 2 weeks, or massive starvation. Bread and circuses must be maintained to keep the masses pacified. Nothing else will get people to revolt en masse.
A shutdown of the internet for 2 weeks would probably cause everyone to cool off rather than go ballistic. We don't want or need riots. We need a national strike. Shut the country down. I think canceling the elections because of a contrived national emergency would be a good trigger for a national strike.
There are no more unions, with the exception of the police union. People in this country don't even know what a strike is.
Yeah, I think they want riots to justify sending the military into the cities. No riots will actually help.
Shooting an American citizen in the face for trying to drive around the ICE Gestapo should be enough to trigger this, but it won't be. Half the country welcomes their new race police.
I've said it before, maybe not on here, but definitely before, and I'll say it again. The people are hungry, but they are not yet starving. Going full France, as you put it, will take a starvation event. This can be literal or metaphorical. It won't happen until it becomes the only way people can get relief.
Canadian here. Should we cut the potash exports?
Political activism is a faux pas that Americans need to overcome. We're like a boiling frog, unfortunately.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps. Subscribe for more, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.